All right, it is day 2 of the goal setting workshop. We're going to get streaming over into our PCAT U90 group. And today we get to dig into the roadmap acronym that we learned yesterday from John Maxwell. And we're going to go into an income goals worksheet. So it's going to be a bit of a learning and a bit of a working session. And we have some documents that I'm going to share with you, some templates. I'll just drop them into the chat box if you are on Zoom. And if you want to grab the Canva templates of anything I show, you can go and edit them, or you can just keep them however you want to do it. And if you are in the PCAT U90 group, these are kind of going to be some of the content we're putting into your big workbook, but you're welcome just to grab the individual sheets as well. So does anybody want to start? Or Carla, do you want to start? Just say, hey, and let us know anything you pulled from yesterday and you're hoping to gain from the next 2 days we have left together.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you back. We're seeing some new names and faces in here. That's exciting. We're glad that you're joining us. The thing, I think it's where you left off yesterday that spoke to me, and I'm curious if it spoke to other folks. When you're talking about, setting the goal and what does it feel like you were having us visualize what it would feel like when we do reach the goal. And, I, not to be on the negative side of things, but also visualizing what it would feel like if you don't reach the goal. And I had heard someone say one time, who loses if you don't win? And so sometimes we kind of got to get into our feels a little bit when we're doing the goal setting. And when we are making the decision and we're actually moving forward in activity. And so I started thinking about, I think you said something like, what would it feel like if you don't reach the goal? I started thinking about certain things, certain goals that I have in my mind. And it made me look at them a little bit differently. Like, are they as important as I think they are? Do I have something else that may outweigh that? So that's kind of where I left off yesterday.
Yeah, and it's kind of, if you guys have ever done the activity with Carla, where you are just doing the 1-minute activity of what's important to you. If you guys have done that, type in the chat box, let us know you've done that. But sometimes we have these goals because we think we should have these goals, right? So I just dropped in the chat box. If you have not officially registered, but you're on the Zoom right now, will you please go fill out the Zoom registration? That way you get the email and we know who's actually registered, because you might have seen the Zoom in the social sales group, okay? But that's one of the things we did really want you to take away from yesterday. So Teddy is here right now, and we talked with her yesterday about her goal to go to the Bahamas. Do you remember that? She wants to go to Atlantis with her company. And you guys all wrote down different goals you have in different areas of your life. And sometimes we have these goals that are really someone else's. We have these dreams that are someone else's. And especially if you're a network marketer, we get caught up in like something that matters because we think it matters, like a rank and it's all fleeting. Okay. So if you haven't been to a top 1 or 2% of the company, it sounds so huge, doesn't it? Like top 1% of the company, top 2% on stage, all the things. And you hear from the people who've done that it's really not that different than where they were at before, but you don't believe it because they're there, right? Well, then when you get there and you get to be the person to walk across the stage, or I remember when I was with Arbonne and I went VP, you get to go, and we're talking 16,000 people at that Vegas conference, and you get to go up and get, awarded as that new level, and you get the VP ring and you get all the things. Well, when you go back to your seat, you're just another person in the big stadium of 16,000 who gets to go back to home to your kids and try to decide if you're going to wake up tomorrow and keep doing that business, right? But it was fun for a moment. So what it really means is what matters. So focus on not just my name's on the leaderboard, I get recognized as having earned the trip, and it is supposed to mean something, but what does it really mean? What does it really afford you, right? Going on that trip for me was an experience that I can't ever not have, right? I had that Atlantis trip with my sister the first time, because I used to be with that company. I earned that trip my first full year in. I took my sister for free. My mom and dad came. My mom couldn't stand a vacation without us, so she got on a cruise ship. took my dad to Nassau and they came across to Atlantis and we got to spend the whole day at the Atlantis, Bahamas together. And my son was only 2. And he said like he wanted to go. And I said, I will earn that trip again and I will take you. And he was 6. And I was a single mom by that point. And I earned that trip and I took my 6-year-old on a paid for Atlantis, Bahamas trip. And we had the most incredible time. And I got to take 3 teammates. Okay. So that is more like, what is it really about behind your goals? Because otherwise none of this matters. So if it is about, I want to be VP, why? Well, it's a certain paycheck, which affords my bills, but it also is a little bit more paycheck than my teaching career was. So I can actually have a little bit more freedom than I had. The time, the choice, having someone else pay for my car, that is stress relieved, right? It's not so much about the recognition. And then it's the leadership level where you can't get there by yourself, right? She said that, Kimberly said that charges the crap out of me and gets me refocused and pumped up every time I feel like it. Every time I go, I feel like it's life changing. So when you guys think about, especially if you're going into leadership, I realize, and you're all different companies, but let's say you're selling whatever level equals 2,000 to 5,000 at your company. Okay. If you're in network marketing, you can do that level by yourself. Okay. Now your structure might require legs, which means you couldn't do it by yourself, or it might just require volume. You could even pull 10,000 in sales by yourself. Could, but you're never going to be a $30,000 to $50,000 a month person or a 6-figure by yourself, right? And so sometimes those leadership levels are more about like, I can't do it by myself. Therefore, the person I become in order to be that level, that's the goal. Does that make sense? The byproduct is the paycheck, or the byproduct is the recognition. So it's kind of like a weight loss goal, and people are like, oh, you shouldn't have a weight loss goal. I'm like, here's what happens. If I can get down to 130 again, so I'm 151, I'm 5'1.5". I was 161 when I gave birth. Okay. My body at that weight, it isn't about a number. It's about what it's carrying. It's about how it feels. It's about how it moves. So when I get down to 130, that's kind of the, like what people see on the front. That's the VP rank, right? But the byproduct actually or the thing I'm going for actually is the health. The byproduct is that I got skinnier. Does that make sense? So know what you're chasing after and make it matter. And in Impact Retreat and inside of Impact Stage 1, we talk about the manifesto. You all wrote letters if you did the retreat with us. And you do what Carla said, write the goal and what your life's going to look like if you achieve the goal. So if you haven't done this, take a minute. A lot of you have been in different things with us before. If this is brand new to you, type in the chat box new, like you have no idea what the manifesto is. Okay. If you're like, what is that? So we write our goals out. Okay. So Joyce says she's new. Kimberly's new to this. We write our goals out and we won't dig all the way in to this on this workshop. But I want you guys to look at if you achieve that goal. Let's even just go for 1 year. Okay, 2024, we're coming back to the 3-day goal setting workshop and we get to set new goals because you achieved the ones that you outlined in this one. Okay. Now I want you to pretend it's January 2024 and you're with these faces here, right? Again, but you haven't seen them since then. Okay. And you're kind of updating them on what your life has been like over the last year because you went after your goals, right? So I want you to think of that person, your future self 1 year from now at this workshop. And I want you to think, if you really go after it this year, what's different? What's better? What's less stressful? What's more fun? Where are you having a bigger influence that you didn't have at this time right now that you do next year? Okay. Do you want that person? Yes or no? Type in the comments below. Do you want to see that future 1 year from now? Okay. So if yes, then you got to do what you're going to be outlining that you're going to do. And you got to look past all the stuff that can derail you, right? Then you do the opposite. So I say, yes, absolutely. Hell yes. New. Okay. Or so new, you guys are new to this. You guys are getting it. Then you do the opposite. Okay. So now you do go ahead and come to the workshop in January 2024. You were here today. You come back with us next year and you update us. And this is your story. I didn't do anything different. I outlined those goals. I set out I got motivated. I was ready to go and I didn't change a darn thing. Are you okay with that? And if you are okay with that, then you don't really need to be here, right? Because what are you setting these goals for? If you're not okay with that, then that will be your fuel to push through everything you're going to outline, to push through PCAT U90 if you're running with us for 90 days, to push through life and business and all the obstacles, right? So go ahead and ask yourself, which future self do you want to see 1 year from now? The girl who went after it or the one who didn't? And if you can look at the goals you put on your piece of paper, and this is not a right or wrong, guys. If you look at the goal on your piece of paper from yesterday and you look at it and you say, you know what? 1 year from now, if I didn't earn that trip, I don't really care. My life's still going to be okay. And I'm really okay with it. 1 year from now, if I'm not driving that car, 1 year from now, if I'm still working my job, 1 year from now, if I'm still, in a crappy relationship, 1 year from now, if I still don't have a relationship with my kids, 1 year from now, if you're okay with whatever the other option of you not achieving those goals are, then that's not a good enough goal. Does that make sense? If it's non-negotiable, if you can look at it on the paper and go, gosh, this matters to me, then it needs to stay on the paper. If you look in your company, and we all do it, and you try to set goals to go after the $30,000 paycheck because you watch somebody else do it and you're like, if she can do it, I can do it, right? Which might be true, but it really doesn't matter to you. It doesn't align with your calling, right? It wouldn't even feel good. You're not even prepared mentally to be in that leadership level. You've never had that desire. Why do you have that on your sheet? Right? So you guys get to make those decisions and we can open up. So is there anybody who's looking at a goal and you're like, I don't really know if this should be on my paper? Is there anybody that's like, I don't know if this should be there? Because that would be okay. We could talk about that. Like I wrote it down, but I don't know why. Y'all feel good about what you wrote down? Okay, because I have had phone calls with people that apologize to me for not showing up, and they don't owe me that apology, right? And they're like, I'm sorry I wasn't on the call. I'm sorry. And I was like, well, that's not where the conversation needs to be. Why would you even want to be on the call, right? Why is it even important to you to go to conference? Why do you even want to do a party or not do a party? Not that you owe me an answer, you owe yourself an answer. And sometimes they're like, I'm not even chasing after my own dreams in this company. I'm chasing after someone else's, right? It's someone else's mission, someone else's message. And so let's play this route. So I'm trying to get Carla and Amy Rossi to go to Orlando with me to meet Julie Kinney for a retreat that she just messaged me about. And I'm like, okay, let's get a couple of our impact team to come down. So if you've never heard me talk about Julie, she was one of my first coaches and she has a bit of a different approach if you're a network marketer, okay? So I want you to go this route to ask if your goals can still make sense. So she tells this story of a person who owns a business where they put those orange barrels on the side of the road. Do you know what I'm saying? Those orange barrels that are like safety things. And the person makes a lot of money selling these orange barrels. And it's a real business. And I don't remember all the details. And her point was this person said, I am not passionate about orange barrels. Orange barrels do not get me excited. But selling those orange barrels and what the business has afforded me, the lifestyle, that's what gets me excited. So sometimes in network marketing, we get really thrown because we're like, we're not passionate about our products, right? Or you had a like tiff with somebody and they're like, oh, they don't agree with me. And so now I quit, right? It's not a true alignment issue. It's really us looking for an excuse to like bail. And we get reminded that network marketing is simply a vehicle, right? A vehicle to your dreams. And so if right now you're like, should I sell bras or should I sell jewelry? I don't care. To me, this is why I never fight about what company you're in. I literally don't care. They are all a vehicle to whatever you really want, your goals, okay? They're all in the same industry that I believe in for all the reasons I believe in the industry. And they're all incredible companies and they're all incredible products. But if you don't get excited about bras and you get excited about earrings, are you going to have more fun selling earrings than bras? Yes, right? If you're with a health and wellness company and you're literally like, I don't care about getting healthy, could you be the orange barrel girl? Yeah, you could, right? You could be like, I'm going to focus on the mission of getting me to my dreams more than the mission of the company to get people healthy. But you guys have choices. And some of this, you're derailing yourself for the wrong reasons. And you keep jumping ship and you never will achieve your dreams, right? And some of you, it becomes a true conflict like me, right? I was in love with my company and I was also out of love with it for certain reasons because it is what it is, right? There were certain things I liked, certain things I didn't like, but some of them were simple deal breakers for me. And so you have to decide your deal breakers and which ones are just you letting yourself off the hook and letting that be the excuse for you not to go after your dreams because your company shipping took too long. Those of you with Zaya right now that are trying to give everybody a free product and we keep going to try to redeem it and the website's crashed. I want those free leggings. Some of you are going to be like, that's the reason I quit. Their shipping took too long. So focus on the dream and choose your vehicle and stay focused. So if your vehicle is network marketing, if your vehicle is your day job, if your vehicle is your childcare center that you're going to build, if your vehicle is your coaching business, right? They're all just a means to the end. Does that make sense? And if you keep changing all the time because you think it's going to be grass is greener, how'd that work out in your relationships? I'll tell you how that works out, by the way. They're all kind of the same. They just look different on the front side. Okay, let's move into our notes. Okay, so I'm going to screen share. Anybody have any comments before I move into my notes about that? Or has anybody been like, I don't know if this is the thing I'm supposed to be doing, but that makes sense. Or, I am in complete disalignment. Is that a word? In alignment, and I need to make a change and I just don't know what it's going to be. Anybody want to have those talks before we move into like, you've made a decision, now let's go after it. Okay, so when you are doing network marketing, the brilliant part is we do have lots of options, and it is very important that you guys realize you're not owned by your company, you're only owned by you and your God. So make decisions for you. Go through all of this. I know some of us have made changes simply because of the direction that some companies are going in social marketing, right? Or in digital marketing, that there's just simple tools that are available that aren't with other companies. And maybe that's a huge deal because for you and your priorities, you value time and you value simplicity and you value automation. So you decide what your deal breakers are. Okay. So roadmap from yesterday, let me do this. I'm going to do share and I'm going to say, where's my, okay, well, this is interesting. I'm inside of Google or Canva Docs for the first time, and I don't see that normal share template thing. Interesting. This is only you can access, only Kathy's team. All right, well, for now, I'll just do copy link. I'll figure out if I can give you guys an editable template like we do in regular Canva. Okay, first time in Docs. Okay, so this is Canva Docs. I'll drop it in there. I'll see if I can get you guys the edit option, but this is straight from John Maxwell, Roadmap Approach to Goals. We did this yesterday, but we want to dig into each of the letters a little bit more in depth. So the R was recognize your dream. Okay. So we just did a big talk on it. Your dream is not to become the vice president of your company. Okay. Your dream is not to sell $10,000. Your dream is not to have the car. Okay. There's something behind those things that are actually the dream. Does that make sense? So the why, a lot of us say like, what's the why? And if you guys will type in the comments below, I'll give you suggestions if you want them, but type in the comments or the chat box, what is your why for going after your business? What is the dream? Okay. And a lot of us do, when we talked about it yesterday, the goal that we're setting was actually the thing that would get you to the dream. All right. So you were like, well, I want to achieve this, right? Or I want to make 50,000. Why? Right? What's the real thing behind it? That will be the motivator. So the first step is to dream and dream big, but now we need to add clarity. Okay. We need to articulate our desired future state or desired outcome as a vivid picture. So if you've ever looked at my dream board, and if y'all have dream boards, vision boards, right? I used to just put the Mercedes. because the Mercedes is a car I've earned with 2 companies now. That was happened to be, they were both white Mercedes. I didn't sign up with companies for that reason. So with my new company, if it's a white Mercedes, it's meant to be. But first I would put on the board, the white Mercedes, right? And I would put on the board like VP to be, and I would put on the board, like, I don't know, all the things, but there was no feeling to those things. So when you dream and you're doing your vision board and you're asking yourself, is this a good goal? Can you see it? Can you feel it? Can you smell it? So if the trip is the goal, that's why we did that exercise with Teddy yesterday. What does it feel like? What does it actually mean to get there? So ask yourself with your goal, what's behind it? So imagine it is 50,000 a year for Amy. What are you going to do with that 50,000? And then play the opposite. What if you don't? Does it really matter? For me, if I left my teaching career, the number was the same, $2,510 in teaching, $2,510 in network marketing. I was still bringing home the same amount of money, right? After 6 months, I replaced the income, resigned from teaching. But what's actually the dream? The 2510? No. The area manager status? No. The master degree teacher? No. What's behind each of those things? The 2,510 in network marketing meant I was home all day, right? And my son was in kindergarten 2 seconds down the road, and I got to be PTO president. And this was pre-pandemic, so I get to volunteer in the classroom all the time. That was what I was going after. What can afford me that? Does that make sense? So evaluate that. So a quote for you, it says, everything starts with a dream. It's an expression of your life and determines what it means for you to reach your potential. If you can articulate your dream clearly, then you can create a map for your journey. If you can't, the trip will be nearly impossible. So what does that mean? If we cannot visualize this thing, if we cannot articulate clearly why it matters, what it really means, what it's really going to look like, if we can do that, we can create the map. If not, there's not a lot we can do for you. Does that make sense? And we could give you our map, because we do. We give you our system tour of success, our GPS, and you're not going to follow it anyway. It has no meaning, right? Does anybody want to comment on R, or anybody have any questions about R, or anybody need clarity on recognizing your dream, tying this to your goal? This one's a big deal. Probably the biggest deal of them all. This is why the people say if the why is big enough, the how will come. I like to look with the people who I like to work with the people who already have the clarity on their dream. That's my preference. But I thought that's what I was doing. And then I get in and probably 80% of our students don't actually have clarity where they thought they had clarity. And then we end up working in a different area. But if you can get this part, then it's cake, right? Because I like systems, I like how to, I like now let's just run. But we end up finding like you're all
with one, and then I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Gail.
I started with one dream, and here it is many years later, and it's evolved across these years. So you can change that and not feel guilty or bad about changing it, I think. And oftentimes people around us are our barometer. Oh, you have to stay here because I need you here, and we're working together with a friend, to bond and keep the bond, but then your passion is over here. So yeah, it's very important.
We stay for the wrong reasons. And to Gail's point, it's kind of almost like, how if you we say learn how to handle hard better. So dreams are kind of the same, goals are kind of the same. If you achieve one goal, it's like all of a sudden the vision is open up for a bigger one, right? And so you actually never arrive. And so that's how handle hard better is as well. Like you have a hard situation, you learn how to handle it, you get delivered something even harder, right? But Gail's right, like what you're going after right now, it can change, it can grow. And so that's why you might see, I heard somebody say it in class yesterday, probably Christy Hendrickson. And she was basically saying like, she knows that it could be bigger, but this, if she lays out this number, it feels like attainable. That whole, remember we talk about being realistic. So my little 7-year-old and I were at my dad's house, and he does this thing where he puts one foot on one step and he stretches the next leg up until he sees how many steps can be between his 2 feet. And he got 4. Okay. Like literally, unless he was Stretch Armstrong, that was as many steps as he could step in one step, right? Like one step here, and he could, and I equal. Okay, so sometimes literally that's as far as we can stretch, right? That's all we have the capacity of right now. We've got to grow more in order to stretch more. But sometimes right now you're actually able to stretch 2 stairs and you're only trying to stretch 1, right? So ask yourself that too. Are you making it too easy on yourself? Is it not a big, hairy, scary goal? Or are we stretched with this goal and we know it's attainable, but it's going to take growth, right? Next, we want to O, which is observe your starting place. So know where you start from, right? This helps you go figure out the gap. So the stairs between your one foot and the other foot, between your current state and your desired future state. So this is the difference between point A and point B. And by knowing the gap, you can address the gap better. So it was Kelly Roach, I've been through so many classes, that first used the word, if you guys are in coaching, if you guys are in network marketing, if you're working with people, she used the word that our job is to fill the gap or find the gap and fill the gap, okay? So when you know who it is that you work with, how you help people, and you can find the gap, especially if it's one that someone else hasn't identified yet, that's when you can really set yourself apart. So in our coaching business that keeps growing, right? We only add on things when we see a gap, right? So with Amy Rossi doing the power Zooms, when she graduated and she's like, I want to help. I'm like, what do you see as missing? What do we keep hearing over and over? So for yourself, if you can see where you're at and where you're going, what is standing in the way, right? And have someone help you fill that gap. That's where we like to come in. So some of you are going to have clarity on the wavefront start and you're like, give me the systems. Some of you over here being like, my gap is, I don't even know if I want to do this thing. I don't know why I want to do this thing. And we have to help you sit there and process through that part. So via your roadmap for success, it is true that you can't begin the success journey until you know where you want to go. Is this being emphasized over and over in this workshop? But you also can't be successful if you don't know where you're starting from. Okay, both pieces of information are necessary to make the trip. So go with your GPS. Carla lives in what city again? It's a small town, Georgetown.
Georgetown. Yep.
Okay, Carla lives in Georgetown. I live in Hamel. We both live in these small towns in Illinois. So if Carla says, hey, Kathy, I live in Georgetown, I want you to come here. I'm like, okay, but I don't know where I'm starting from. What do I put into the GPS, right? If I tell myself I'm going to go see Carla, I know I'm starting at Hamel, but I don't know where I'm going. Point A and B matter, right? And then between A and B, that's the roadmap. That's how we're going to get there. So Eric Hoffer said, known as the longshoreman philosopher, said, to become different from what we are, we must have some awareness of what we are. Wow. Okay, start by examining yourself as honestly as you can. Look at your strengths, weaknesses, experiences, education, and resources. If you guys do this, especially in network marketing, I think it will let some of the pressure off of you to not arrive as quickly as someone else, because you may not be at the same starting place. Example, let's say you come into the network marketing industry for the first time. Like you've never been in the industry versus the girl that you sign up on the same day who has industry experience. Do you think you guys might grow at different rates? She's already got experience in the industry. You're first learning about it, right? What about the person who has been doing something on social media? Take Lauren, I can't remember her last name, anyway, she, before coming into network marketing, had no concept in network marketing, okay? But had been building an influence, an audience on Instagram because she had a dog. And this dog started capturing a lot of attention, and she had some dog food companies reaching out to do some partnering with her. And she started doing social posting for promoting this dog food. And she got like dog food free from the people and such like that. So now she's got an audience of like 4,000 to 5,000, learns about network marketing, comes into network marketing with Arbonne, and goes to her and I were like pacing each other, because when I came back in January 2019 as an experienced network marketer outside of social media, she comes in same time as an inexperienced network marketer, heavily experienced in social media. We hit area manager about the same time. She hit region that year in 9 months. And I was like, holy freaking Moses, what is wrong with me? I was with this company for 6 years. I was a business owner. I did not know how to do social media. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that allowed me, because at first I shut down. I'm like, this little 23-year-old, I was the one at the top of this company. I remember sitting out in that backyard and Kim's like, if Lauren can do it, you can do it. I'm like, what am I missing? Oh, I don't know how to do business that way. And that's when I started going into, that was January 2019. I mean, I went to the top 6%. I was replacing my $2,000 income. I was doing parties, figuring it all out. But then I'm like, she's got some stuff figured out that I don't, and a whole lot more experience. That's why now, those of you just starting to learn social marketing, it does look differently with me, my new company. Bravenly is very different for me because I have 3 years, 4 years of social marketing experience and an audience kind of following a bit. So I haven't had to work hard for those customers. Does that make sense? I do a few social posts, they respond. I send my automation sequences out. I invite them into, like, the process is solid. So look at your strengths. That may not be exactly in the industry you're in, but some of you have life experience that is going to allow you to have a much thicker skin than other people who walk in. And you won't lose sleep over some things that other people will quit over. Does that make sense? So don't compare yourself to anyone but you. As you think about your dream and measure it against your starting place, this is called the gap versus the gain. Go read the book. When you look at the gain, you only get to measure, this is the Girl Scout honor, you only get to measure where you are now against who you are, where you were in the past. That's the only reason you look backwards, is to measure the gain for you, right? Not what someone else did in 6 months, what you measure yourself against you, okay? Your current self against where you were, your starting place, and where you're going. And this will allow you to define it more precisely. So you're going to get a clearer picture of what's important to you, what you're willing to give and give up to be successful. And you will be in a better position to identify goals. Now, here's the question for you guys. Are you willing to give up anything? Did you know that you might have to? So John Maxwell shares some questions to ask yourself. How great a distance will you travel? Now, does this have to be literal? Could be. Go pre-social media. I mean, even pre-2020, right? A lot of us were literally traveling. So sometimes it's like, will I drive 8 hours for a party? Will I travel 4? It could be a mental distance. Are you willing to travel? What do you have working for you already? So spend some time in these questions and write some things down, type them in the chat box, type them in the comments. What do you have working for you right now? What do you have working for you right now? What must you overcome? We covered a little bit of this yesterday. And what will it cost to make the trip? Now, those of you who did the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth with the first Maxwell Mastermind, he covered this. There were 10 different questions. And then I did a social media Monday about it, Be Social TV. And he said, most people, just so y'all know, I'm just going to tell you, there's 22 people on this call. If 5 of you, just being honest, go after what you're outlining today and show up next year saying, I went after it, I'll be impressed. I don't know which 5 it's going to be. It's just the way it is. He said, most people will not be willing to make the sacrifice. Most people will not overcome, but we don't want to be most people, right? So we always look at network marketing numbers and we look and we have this reality check when we look at an income disclosure and it says 0.001% of people go to the top. And you get a choice to go, because I just told you 5 out of 22, you get the choice to go, oh, crap, I only got a 20% chance. I'm just going to hang up now. Or she just said it's possible. When I look at income disclosure, I'm like, oh, that means it's possible. I'm willing to be the 1 out of the million, right? All I need to know is possible, not probable. So how do you want to look at things? Do you need probable because that means it's probably going to be easy, or possible because it's going to be simple? but it's going to be a journey. Which one are you cool with? Are you going to pay the price? Statement of purpose. Write out a statement of purpose that reflects your dreams, your values, and convictions in a way that inspires you and helps you stay the course. You can do this in the form of a manifesto, like your 1-year letter, your 3-year letter. You can literally do it like how a company would do, where they write a mission statement or a vision statement. You can do that for your life. So once you've given more thought to your dream and it has started to become more clear in your mind, now we take another step. So if you can go, you know what, I'm not really cool with negotiating this away. I know things in life will happen that won't be predictable, and you're okay with that. So let's not lose sleep over, but what if? Because we could do that all day long and we could spend our time there, but that would be silly. So we could say, well, I'm going to lay it out, but what if this? What if this? I don't know. What if not? Right? So let's not lose sleep there. So once it's more clear, then we take the next step of writing it down. Writing a statement of purpose for yourself based on your dream, what you intend to do while you're going in that direction. He says, I guess you would call it your philosophy of travel for the success journey. So philosophy of travel, like if you've never hung out with Jim Rohn, I love him because his philosophies, it's just funny. And if you go decide right away that this is my philosophy of the journey, this is how I'm going to look at it, there are going to be bumps in the road. What are you going to take from that? What meaning will you make from it? Then you're preparing yourself mentally for when those things come up. You're like, Jim Rohn always says, well, like they told me that was going to happen. So when a person quits, don't be surprised. We told you that was going to happen, right? When someone makes fun of you, guess what? It's going to happen. Your purpose statement should naturally grow out of your own dreams, your own values, and your own convictions. When we're writing purpose statement, when we're setting out goals and we're really evaluating, are they mine or someone else's? The easiest way to evaluate conviction is, how does it feel in your body? So if you're writing out a dream and it just doesn't, I don't know, your body is like tense, or it doesn't, like you look forward and you're just not like peaceful about it, to me, you're not convicted about it. So I shared with you guys a long time ago, before pot was legalized, my little sister, who I'm 45, she's 40. So it was probably 10 years ago. She wasn't a child. Okay. She was an adult. But we were sitting in her garage and she told me that she smoked pot, and I literally smacked her in the face. I was like, I can't believe, what is wrong with you? So my mom was, I'm like, you can't do that. And she's like, oh my God, are you crazy? She's like, I have no issues with it. I'm like, how can you not have an issue with that? And later she's like convicted about something else. She's like, I am not convicted about that. And I said, Mary, I don't even understand what that means. She's like, all those feelings and emotions that you have that thing is wrong. She's like, I don't have that conviction. I don't have that conviction over my life. I don't feel. And then I realized, like, it wasn't my place to slap her in the face because she does something that I don't do. Right? Does that make sense? So don't worry that someone else doesn't get your dream, and don't worry that someone else, probably more messed up than you, is trying to tell you to do something different, right? So as Rita Davenport says in Funny Side Up, never take advice from someone more messed up than you, but if you lay out this purpose statement, if you go after your dreams and somebody comes and says, Kimberly, you shouldn't do that. Gail, that's a horrible idea. Oh, Carla, have you heard? Then you can ask them a question. Is there something you know that I don't know? Do you have a better opportunity for me? A lot of times when people are trying to knock you out of your dreams and off path, they don't have the same values and convictions as you. They certainly don't have the dreams you do, because they were placed on your life, not theirs. And if they're trying to derail you, it's either part of what Gail was saying. They might be jealous, or they might be truly just trying to protect you out of lack of knowledge. Does that make sense? And the best thing you can say is, listen, this is a calling on my life, not yours. I can't go to bed with myself at night unless I do this for the next half hour before we go out. Okay. Right. So creating it isn't a quick one-time event. Instead, most people develop and then they refine it over the course of a couple years. So as you write out your purpose statement, remember, this is your life. This isn't just a quick little thing. Don't expect perfection the first time around. Write it out the best you can and plan to make changes later as you discover more about yourself and refine the vision for your life. Okay. So a couple purpose statements here. So if you guys are like, I don't know how to do this. We might call them like our marketing message. We might call them our I help statement. You might call it your tagline. We go a little bit more in depth when we say a purpose statement. So here's an example. So John Maxwell's personal writer researcher, Charlie Wetzel, says, through writing, teaching, and mentoring, I desire to inspire people to greatness by helping them discover their purpose, develop their relationship with God, and reach their potential. That's his purpose statement, okay? John Maxwell's attorney writes, to offer compassionate, complete, and competent services in her law practice, to write words that inspire God-pleasing change in others, and to make her life be such that she lives to bless humankind. Those are deep. That didn't say like to make $1 million in law, whatever lawyers make money doing, right? That didn't say to write 5 books. That didn't say, you know what I'm saying? Deeper, right? So now number 4, the D in roadmap is define your goals. Write your goals based on your dream in a way that's personal. So now we get down to the SMART goals: personal, specific, achievable, measurable, and time sensitive. So for the sake of this workshop, we're not going to dive into SMART goals. SMART goals is a training we have over in Action Takers Elite Club. It's part of what Impact has access to as we go through the phases. We defined goals. SMART goals, you might have heard of the specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time sensitive or time bound. That's the SMART acronym. Have you guys heard that? So once you've articulated your purpose, now you can break it down into SMART goals. A lot of us try to do it in reverse. Like, I'm going to go write all these goals, then you didn't do the first part of the roadmap, right? So this could edit it. So it says they will be activities or accomplishments that you plan to complete to fulfill your purpose, develop your potential, and help others. So this is when we finally get to be like, break it down, give me some bite-sized things. And then you get to be like Siobhan, like, I'm just focusing on the activity. And she couldn't, and this is what I was talking to her about yesterday. She couldn't just focus on the little bite-sized pieces unless she knew what the bigger part of behind it was, right? Remember we talked about that? So some simple checks to keep your goals on track. Go research and somebody give me the most accurate percentage, but a goal is a dream if it's not written. Okay, so we want to move from dreams to goals now, because that's the whole point. And if it's written, I don't remember the percent, 30%, I'm going to make it up, so don't quote me on it. More likely to achieve your goal simply by writing it. So why not go ahead and write it and make it big and hairy and scary, and then draw a big, hairy, scary monster around it so you know it's supposed to scare you, scare the crap out of you. And then I believe it's like 80-something% more likely to achieve your goal if it's written and you look at it every single day. Have you heard that before? Do you do it? No, Kimberly says no. It's really not that hard. So I am single now, so I can do what I want in my house a little bit more, but I have had Post-it notes on my cabinets prior to being single about a Bible verse. And if any of you have like kids' artwork all over your refrigerator, or sometimes you're like, oh, but it doesn't look so good, but there's a reason, like you want to keep looking at that stuff, right? Maybe you wrote in lipstick on your mirror. Go do that ridiculous stuff, because what matters more is it staying in front of you than if when your guests come over, you have Post-it notes all over your kitchen cabinets. You know, if you're going for a health goal, have you ever had a vision of being in your yellow bikini in St. Lucia? That was mine. And you wanted to see it differently, so you cut off a picture of your head and stuck it on someone else's body. Have you guys ever done those things? That was like when we were 16, right? So looking at that, and you post it on the refrigerator. Do you guys do this stuff? So then you post it on the refrigerator. So when you're about to open like the freezer for ice cream, you're like, oh yeah, that won't like equal that, right? So how could that relate to your business? What decisions could you put in front of you that could tie to your written goals, that could remind you this is bigger than that? So maybe it's your written goal stuck to the remote control, right? Maybe you have a Post-it note over the TV sensor of your goal, so that when you try to turn on the TV, it won't turn on, and you have to get up and pull the Post-it note off and make a decision. Are you going to sit and watch the show, or are you going to sit and do your work first, right? So the goals need to be written. They need to be personal. That means it only matters to you. It is great if everybody thinks that your goals are awesome. It doesn't matter if they don't. If you listen to Tyler Brown on yesterday's Wake Me Up podcast with rejection, he said the only thing you need to know is that it matters to you, right? You don't need any other excuse to go do what you're going after, right? If it matters to you, that's all you need. Specific, what specific is going to actually be is the little 3-column thing we're going to do next, and what we did a bit with Christy. Specific means that we can actually like look at it and it's not just so vague. We can break it down and we know what we're going after. Achievable, you guys, anything is achievable, but even like in Maxwell's book, remember when he was talking about in 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth for some of you that read it, and there was a talk he had to have with a guy, and I don't remember what the person was, it was some dream that they had, and it was, this might be more with realistic, this might go into more realistic, but John had to be like, you know what, let's kind of look at another option, right? So achievable, that might be more on the realistic side, but unachievable, is it really something that you can achieve? Sometimes we're making it too small, sometimes we're making it too big. Measurable, this is what I love. I just love things that are trackable. I love law of ratios, or law of averages. I love ratios. I love data, not because I actually love them, but because if you can show me the data that says if I do 8 parties a month, on average, I'll sell 2,500, which equals $500 a month in income. And if I do that times 4 people, I'll have a $10,000 level. You know, I love measurable. So you guys will see me focus you there a lot. Time sensitive means you have, it's time bound. And we get afraid to do this because you're like, oh, that will lock me in. If you don't give yourself a date, time that you need to get there, why do you need to hustle? And you don't have to stress yourself out about it, but you got to make this big enough that it matters. So some of you have to create the urgency, and that's part of what PCAT U90 is about. You might have to create the urgency, but you won't regret it. If it's not the right season, nobody's going to hold that against you. But if it's the right season and you're not going after it, you ask yourself 90 days from now, will I regret being urgent with this activity, right? No, you won't. Unless it's simply not the right season. You're a brand new mom and you're like, I just cannot right now. Girl, I get you. Might be like a more of a like 180-day run. Maxwell says goals need to be personal to be effective. And a common mistake that people make is to identify something out of their control as a goal. Okay. So whenever Siobhan said, I'm going to focus more on the activity instead of the outcome, it is not, some things are simply not in your control. So you want to look at what is in your control. So if you put on your piece of paper, my goal is to win the lottery, you don't have that in your control. You say, my goal is for my spouse to treat me better, not in your control. You do not have control over these things. To be legitimate, a goal must be within your power to achieve or accomplish personally. Does that make it hard in network marketing if your goal is to grow a team of 24 people? Yep, because you can't make those 24 people sign up. So what would be a better goal? So if you have law of averages, if you have data, if you have any of this specific information that you've measured in the past, like I did, and you can see that on average, when I talk to 40 people a month, I recruit 1 to 2, then I could make my goal talk to 40 people a month. Does that make sense? I can make it my goal. I cannot, something changed about my body. They told me this would happen. I didn't believe them. My middle section is different. Okay. And I've always had like a 6-pack even after children. And then the last one, something changed. So I don't think I'm going to make it a goal to have a 6-pack. Just saying. It's not that I won't take it, but I think I'm going to have it to make it a goal of the activity that I want to do. And if it ends up that it ends up in 2 or 4 or 6 of the packs, I'll take them. But do you know we go after the wrong thing? So as you write the goal, make sure it passes the test. And then guys, you get to move into action. So when we take action, this is part of the big yearly goal into monthly, into weekly, into daily, into the increments of 15-minute increments. When you move into action, we need to have bite-sized, measurable, action-oriented things that we're going after. So German poet and novelist Johann Wolfgang, I'm not even gonna say the rest of it, once said, thinking is easy, acting is difficult, and to put your thoughts into actions is one of the most difficult things in the world. He said, maybe that's why so few people actually follow through and act on their goals. Okay. So some stats, according to Greg Harris, 2/3 of people surveyed set goals for themselves. We're 2/3 of those people. But of those 2/3, of those 67, only 10 actually made a plan to get there. And of those 10, only 2 follow through. So when we had 22 or 23 on the call earlier, and I said, I'll be surprised if I get to us next year having done this, these numbers would actually say there's probably only gonna be one of us that actually put the goal into a plan, took the plan, went for it, stayed in action, and followed through. Let's not be those people. I would say the fact that you're on this call, you're not part of the 63, you're part of at least the 10, right? Adjust your plan. We talked a bit yesterday that things are not going to go as planned. So as you act on your goals, you need to continually review them, work in progress, make adjustments. So if you have a budget, right, with money, you don't just set the budget one time and not review it. Maybe you review it monthly, maybe you review it weekly and go, oh, like what unexpected happened, right? For me, unexpected was like, I didn't really plan to have another child. I really know how it happened. I was there when it happened. I just didn't have it in my plans. So then I was like, well, we got to make some adjustments in these finances now. Do you know what I'm saying? We got to make some adjustments in this career that I have now. And so whatever it is, if it's a small thing or a big thing, the tire went out in your car, just expect those things. If you work with Dave Ramsey on budgeting, he's like, don't be surprised that your furnace needs to be replaced. Furnaces go out. Don't be surprised that you have to change the oil in your car or the budget for those things. So in your goals, go ahead and look for what you need to make adjustments for even before they need to be adjusted, because you know they're coming, and then know some things are going to happen. Okay. So just like Jim Rohn says, when he tells you the story of the sower and the seed, you are in charge of planting. It's all you're in charge of planting. You plant the seeds, you water the seeds, the sun shines, and we hope the seeds grow. And then some of them wither and die, and some of the birds take away. And these are like people. This is where he parallels it to your team. You're planting seeds, having conversations. The girl says she's going to go after it. She doesn't show up. Right? And all he says to say is, isn't that interesting? Right? I can't believe this happened. You should have. Some goals won't really contribute to your dream or purpose and will need to be eliminated. So if you identify that along the way, that's okay. Others need to be modified. And in some cases, you'll simply fail. Remember, one of our questions is, how are you going to handle this? As President Abraham Lincoln says, my greatest concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you're content with your failure. You guys gonna be all right with it? And last but not least, celebrate your successes. So as you accomplish some of your goals, take time to celebrate. You deserve it. I celebrated yesterday with my my wardrobe that is for my fitness thing. I'm wearing some of it now. I bought a bunch of stuff on a sample sale. And I'm like, I will fit into these clothes. It will feel incredible. I'm ready for it. Acknowledge your success and build on it. Always keep in mind that your aim is not to achieve all your goals, but to improve constantly. So Nobel Prize winning novelist William Faulkner urged, always dream and shoot higher than you know you can do. Don't bother just to be better than your contemporaries or predecessors. Try to be better than yourself. You're trying to fulfill your purpose, move toward your potential, and help others, not arrive at a destination. Okay. So last, as we end on trick on acting goals, I'm going to give you guys a 3-sheet homework assignment after that. The trick to acting on your goals is getting started. Oh my God, we can all do that. Can we? President Franklin D. Roosevelt remarked, it is common sense to take a method and try it. If it fails, admit it frankly and try another. But above all, try something. It's good advice. You don't have to be perfect. You only need to make progress. Or as the Chinese proverb asserts, be not afraid of going slowly, be only afraid of staying still. So they always say you can work your business part-time, full-time, but not sometimes. That whole consistency thing. It's not what you get, it's what you become. And the big win for you is what you become by chasing your dreams and pursuing your goals. So as we end on this little section of roadmap with Maxwell, Retail department store founder JCPenney declared, "Give me a stock clerk with a goal, and I'll give you a man who will make history. Give me a man without a goal, and I will give you a stock clerk." Penny recognized the power and importance of goals. So while you work on them, they work on you, and what you get by reaching your goals is not nearly as important as what you become by reaching them. Have you ever achieved anything and look back not at what you achieved, but who you became in that process? Okay, so what I want to do is I hope this one will let me send it to you. It should. It's very basic and very simple. You guys are going to take some time with the roadmap. You've got that sheet sent over. I'll post it in the Facebook Social Sales School event also. This is a very simple sheet that came from Maxwell on us mapping out our business income goals to start getting more into the activity portion. And I put down the left side some things that I was thinking, because there are a lot of network marketers in here. Template, link, copy. I think this will give you the editable template. It's very basic. You could do this on a piece of paper. Okay, so what he had us do was so with Maxwell's program, I can actually like sell masterminds. I can do speaking things like that. Okay, so he gave us a little sheet of, I'll show you what his looks like. This, okay. So for him, I have different ways that I can monetize the classes I have with him. So for network marketing, I tried to switch it over. So he wants us to write down on the left side every income source that you guys have for your business. So this is why I switched it for your Canva document. This won't make as much sense. Now, if you're in coaching, it might. So down the left side of your sheet, edit your Canva document or write on a piece of paper everywhere that you can bring in money. And I'll show you on the sheet I made for you guys that I was thinking more of for network marketing. And then write down your monthly goal from each of those little categories, okay? And then write down your annual goal. This is all you need to do for tonight and bring it tomorrow. So over on this one, I wrote parties, like a lot of people do Facebook events, Facebook parties. What is your monthly goal? I want you guys to decide if you're doing it in terms of revenue or income, but possibly if you were me, I would do both. So I only want this to be personal. I don't want you to map out team right now. Okay, personal income. So because then how do we do team? We just duplicate that, right? We just have 4 people doing the same thing, and that's how we create team numbers. So say you're focusing on parties and your goal is 2,500 in sales from a party, but that would be like your QV if you're in network marketing. And then the income would be however much your level of income is for your company. So if it were me, I would actually write down both of these. I would write down 2,500 in sales, and that's going to make me $500. So income is really the 500, but because we're network marketers, it ties to volume. Now in coaching, right? Coaching would be a little bit different, because let's assume this is a coaching call down here. I'm not giving a percent over to someone else. So if I have a monthly goal to bring in $1,000 in coaching, I keep $1,000 of the dollars, right? So it depends on what business you're mapping. So network marketing, I would map volume and income. And then per year, what would that equal out to? So if it were me in network marketing, I would look at, is this where I plan to stay every single month to map a monthly goal? For me, this would actually be a consistent monthly goal. So then times 12 will be 30,000, right? And then times 12 would be 6,000 a year. If you're just at the starting point and you're like, I can only do 500, I would probably map what I'm really going for, like what I want to do consistent in my business. Okay. So if we're wanting to bring in 2 new coaching clients a month at a, $500 a call, do 2 one-on-ones, 1,000 times 12, that's another 12,000 in income. So I want you guys to spend some time on this to really look and see, like, okay, do you even have the means to get to where you're trying to go with your income? Okay. Remember, this isn't our only goal, but we are going to try to take this sheet and tomorrow move into the action that's going to be behind each of these numbers. Okay, so unmute you guys. Let me know what questions you have from today, because I know I ran the full hour. Good on me. Sorry about that. So let me know what questions you have from today or any takeaways, and then I will get this uploaded into YouTube. I dropped in this right here, this chat that we have. I dropped a YouTube playlist. So here, if you go into the description, is a YouTube playlist, and I put yesterday's recording in there, and I will put today's recording. And if you're not in PCAT U90, these will be up through Saturday, and then I'll move this to an unlisted playlist. All right, any questions? Do you guys understand the assignment? I understood the assignment. I'm gonna go drop it in the group as well.
Okay, so samples, like if I send samples out, and what do I get in return of investment on that?
I want you to say, I am planning to make $500 a month from parties, $100 a month from samples, $200 a month from one. Like, look at, you know how you do vendor events, Charlene? If on average you make $50 a vendor event and you're going to do 2 vendor events a month, then that's $100 coming in a month through events, vendor events. If you're doing virtual parties and you're doing, let me tell Scott that yes, I'm coming, but I'm on a call. If you are doing, I mean, when I did network marketing, I mostly focused on party. When I did it initially, it was only parties. So that's all I would have mapped out was party income, right? But then when I moved into social media, we started doing vendor events. We started doing collaboration events. I started doing once a month at a local boutique community events. So I would write each little income source. If you're doing sampling campaigns, but you have no concept if they're going to sell money, like make money, maybe you're not matching it as an income goal. Those of you that have consumables and you kind of know that you have a return or a repeat, you know, $1,000 in volume coming in from repeat, I put that under a different column for you guys. Because in Arbonne, I would sell about 2,500 new a month, right? And then there was this residual side that kept building. So then I was selling 5,000 a month, but only 2,500 was new. So then I kind of had that extra like repeat customers. Maybe you sell, if you look at your business over the whole thing, so there's that monthly and that yearly side, maybe you have a Black Friday sale on there or a summer sale. So that's going to be only on the annual income side, right? So I always did a Black Friday sale and pulled in big numbers at Black Friday. And then I started doing a summer sale. So twice a year, I'd pull in income from those, right? So he's looking at everywhere. And then we're going to see. So in coaching, Carla and I's agenda is a once a month event like we're doing right now, right? We always sell something at these events, whether we do free or charge, there's always something we're selling. If we're doing PCAT U90 or virtual parties course, we always have something you guys can buy, right? And we kind of map out what's on average that we sell at our free events, what's on average when we get on a one-on-one call. So if you guys do one-on-ones with people, makeup, those of you, the girls that do makeup, if you can get me on a phone call and you send me some makeup samples and we're doing a little mini makeover, you're more likely to sell on those. They have a higher sell rate. So maybe you do 4 one-on-ones a month that each sell 200. So I'm doing it pretty in detail, but does that make sense, Charlene? And what this will help you do too is evaluate, do you need all that extra stuff? Or you might look at these sampling campaigns only bring in 200, but they take me 12 hours to mail stuff out.
I know that my skincare challenge is still, I mean, even if 1 month of skincare challenge, I get 2 customers out of it, they become repeat customers and they end up spending more.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I send like samples with a purchase, or, you know, I'll just stick 1 sample in somebody's order that of brightening treatment because everybody loves it, or a tinted moisturizer. And it's weird because like recently I had done a car show.
Yeah.
2 months later, a customer is messaging me and wanting me to call her because I gave her a sample of tinted moisturizer and foundation. And she had just finished those samples.
Yeah.
And she's like, I love this stuff. I want to order it. And I never know when something like that's going to happen. So I give those samples out at vendor events even.
Yeah.
I've had one customer I know that I've had for 2 years now got off of a tinted moisturizer sample at a vendor event.
Yeah. So that's where, so Charlene, that's more of having a strategy behind each of those things. So tomorrow, when we take the goal and we put it into an action plan, you might evaluate. Remember how we talked about some things you just might need to take off of your dreams list. Basically, I might take some things off my action plan and might go, it's not having a return. Or you need to evaluate strategy, because if you're doing sampling like I do it, it has a high return. But it's not actually the number of samples that go out the door that have a high return. It's the whole process they have to go through from the time they request a sample to the time that they actually get one delivered. So I use a sampling campaign as a way to, it's the clean eating guide, the freebie, the lead magnet, right? And the samples lead magnet that bring in a lot of people. So kind of the hook is the sample, but I don't actually deliver that many samples because then they have to, you know, the strategy because you're in class, they have to fill out a form. Then I get into a conversation. So by the time they get the sample, if they were going to buy, they probably already bought from me because I got what I wanted. I found a qualified person. They let me get into a conversation, figure out how I can help, right? And then we actually deliver what they actually want. They don't need a sample of a drink to make a massive change, right? And Charlene, by the way, I just opened a sample from you that's been in my car forever because it was a moisturizer one and I wasn't out of moisturizer. I'm like, oh, thank God that was in my car. So when you delivered it to me, which came with an order, right? So this is where we all waste money. I didn't ask for it. I didn't need it. I didn't want it, but she gave it to me. So I'm like, well, I'm going to hold on to it. How long ago was that? 6 months? So you gave someone something that didn't need it yet. So we can evaluate all that, save you time and money and get more effectiveness out of those, right? So everybody does that. So then you might decide to keep sampling on there, but we need it to be measurable. So when I mail out 10 samples a month, on average, I roll over one customer, right? So is it worth the time and money or not? So sampling is a whole strategy that it's the same as email marketing. It's going to have a lower, Tracy's laughing. It's going to have a lower conversion rate, but it's a whole lot less work, right? Okay, so go through that. You guys can bring your questions on that tomorrow too, but brainstorm too, because, and share them. We don't have a group necessarily, but you're in social sales school group and there's an event set up for this. So you can post in the event, right? It even automatically set up a little chat, which I still haven't really messed with figuring out to turn that off. But if you guys want to post, like, here's what I'm looking at as income sources. Is there anything I'm not thinking of? Anything else you guys do? Because maybe this would be the time you're like, I am going to add on to my little income sheet doing 2 events a month. Right? Okay, so we went past our hour. It's 12:10, so I'm going to hop off. Carla, do you want to remind them how to get in touch with you if they have not been on the other side of the phone with you yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll drop my messenger link here. But yeah, definitely if you are you're going through the things that Kathy is sharing, you're thinking about your business and all of this makes sense, but you feel like you might still need some support, a little bit of guidance, I am certainly open and would love to invite you to have a conversation with me where I can maybe get you unstuck or point you in the direction that would help you with that. So certainly open to you getting in touch with me. I am dropping my link right now. So that is my direct messenger link. That's a pretty cool tool, by the way. If you don't know that, everybody has their own messenger link. So you can reach out to me and I'll be glad to get something scheduled with you.
Perfect. And tomorrow, you guys, is our last day. So we are going to be moving into the action side. We will be, if you haven't heard of PCAT UF90, if you're still not sure what it is, we'll be showing you all of that tomorrow. And if ever you've been to a challenge, you always want to hear what our special is at the challenge, because it's always a special. So if you did look at PCAT U90 when we released it at the beginning of December, it starts on January 9th. It's going to be 90 days of working with us, but also other network marketers running toward these goals that you've set in your business, focusing on the activity portion. Okay, so we've got to get through this part where you guys are like, make sure it matters, right? Go through everything with the roadmap, make sure it matters, and then we outline the action plan. I'm giving you guys the workbook, the tracking sheets, even some bonus courses and training in case you do need systems. And our focus is going to be coaching you through it, holding you accountable, and running together. So come Easter 2023, when we're done with PCAT U90, we all were the ones who went after it. We weren't the ones who like had the goal, wrote it down, kind of talked about it, and then we don't want to wake up with that regret on the day after Easter when it's over, right? So we're going to be partnering with you. We'll tell you more. If you're already in Impact Makers, you're in. If you are Be Brave Collective and you have messaged me, I have told you, if you sign up, I'm not taking it lightly. Like I gave my team the option. You do not have to come into PCAT U90, right? Not everybody's going to be wanting to do it. And then we offer it to the public on the offer that will open to you guys tomorrow. All right, we'll see you guys at 11 o'clock tomorrow. So that's it. Bye for now.